What's up gamers, Dreamcastguy here, talking today about Google Stadia, because this service is already completely dead and it's only been 1 month, and I've got the hard numbers right here to back that up. Now, I think a lot of us were kind of intrigued about the idea of Google Stadia when it was first being talked about. The thought of being able to play games without physical media, being able to just connect to the internet and instantly stream total experiences, that sounds like the wave of the future. But clearly, pretty much nobody bought it. And it's kind of funny to think about it now, 1 month later, that it just really didn't pan out. And a big part of that is because of Google themselves. Real quickly here at the start of the video, I want to say I hope that all of you are having a very happy Christmas or Hanukkah or whatever holiday you celebrate. I have been getting some very cool Christmas gifts, including this great new 8-bit DOE controller that Spawnwave gave me. Spawnwave Media is a good YouTuber buddy of mine. And I also finally got my ultimate collector's edition of Shenmue 3 in the mail. So I am a very happy man. I hope you're all getting some great gifts and having some good family time. But now, let's rip apart Google to celebrate the holidays. Now, going into Google Stadia, the biggest concern that a lot of people had who were interested in this product was the fact that Google Stadia needs a big fan base. The only way that they're going to keep these servers turned on and to keep these games actually activated is if it is a financial success. Google's not just going to keep supporting this if people aren't buying it. And it looks like, according to these raw numbers from real scans of their servers, it looks like the games are already completely finished. So these numbers that I'm about to be quoting are by somebody over at The Verge. He's one of the head editors, which is like their big writing crew. His name is Tom Warren. Tom Warren has some very good sources all over the industry. He is a really well done writer. I think his journalism is incredibly top notch, and that's why I was incredibly stunned when he suddenly started talking about the real raw digits of how many people are playing Google Stadia. Now, the example he uses in these analysis is Destiny 2. So Destiny 2, obviously a fun shooter. It's a thing that just has a very big fan base. But what's partially interesting about this is that Destiny 2 comes free with Google Stadia. When you buy it, that's the one thing that's just automatically coming straight out of the box. So by looking at the server life of a game like Destiny 2, we get a pretty good temperature as to how the ecosystem currently is. So basically what he did is he did 2 separate scans. One shortly after the release of Google Stadia, basically seeing what it's like at launch. This is when obviously you're going to have the most players that are the most active. The week that it came out, there was, and let me pull up these exact numbers because I think they're very fascinating. Basically, what they did is he looked at all the different systems first. The PlayStation 4 and PC both had about 500,000 players each, which is really kind of just a testament to how many people are still freaking playing Destiny 2. Now, Xbox, a little bit behind, but still really up there, had 330,000 people still playing it. Google Stadia had less than 20,000 people. That means that it had about 8% of the Xbox player base is people that were actually logging on to Google Stadia. Now keep in mind, that was launch week. That was the people who were there at the explosive debut of this new futuristic tech. Only 20,000 people were on board at the start. But wait, it gets worse. So a couple days ago, he decided to do a follow-up scan, basically searching the servers again, checking each of the player bases and seeing how they could have fluctuated. Because with any online game, people join, people quit. It's one of those things where a lot of times people come back for a big patch, and then they quit when they have the new gear. Well, these are the numbers as of just a few days ago. PlayStation 4, still an absolutely staggering 482,000 players. I mean, even now looking at these numbers, I am just shocked. Destiny 2 is such a giant game, even if we sort of ignore it by accident. PC, 500,000 people logging into play. Xbox actually went up 40,000 players to now be 370,000 people playing Destiny 2 on Xbox One. Whereas, as you can see, Stadia has once again cut in half, down to under 10,000 1,000 players. This to me speaks a very clear message. People do not enjoy gaming on Stadia. If these people loved this game, like obviously, just looking at it, I think we could pretty objectively say that Destiny 2 is a giant juggernaut. People are logging in, and they're logging in thousands and thousands of hours, sometimes every single month. It's not the player base that's declining, it is the Stadia users that have gone off a cliff. Now, even just kind of ignoring the fact that this is 1/50th the amount of just the PlayStation 4 base, let's kind of take a step back and realize that this is indicative of a secondary problem. People are only playing the games that are on the service, right? Now, we have to kind of just acknowledge that Stadia is the worst place to play. If you're trying to play these, they're just now getting some of the promised updates. Like Google Stadia now has achievements finally. It's now more accessible. You can play it on more Chromecasts. But a lot of people aren't wanting to log on there because it still has so many resolution problems. If you have the tiniest hiccup in your internet, your game instantly crashes. There's a lot of issues, but the thing that to me is definitely the most damning is clearly even the game developers don't care about it that much. So this week we had a very interesting little thing pop up, which is that people noticed that Borderlands 3 has finally come out on Google Stadia. This is a big deal. Obviously, Borderlands 3 was one of the most important releases of the year. I had my issues with it, but it's certainly a fun game and has some really cool shooting mechanics. Well, what people noticed is when they logged into it, this is not the current version of the game. What I mean is that I own the Borderlands 3 on PlayStation 4. I really like playing it on my PlayStation 4 Pro. If I play it on my PlayStation 4 Pro, it is a more up-to-date version than what's on Google Stadia. If you're playing it right now, it's several patches behind. Major patches that introduce new content, new balancing. You are literally playing an outdated game. Imagine if you're trying to play like an MMORPG that doesn't have the newest patch. That can be a very big difference. And to me, it's quite apparent that this is just basically saying that Gearbox doesn't care. There is just such a small player pool over on Google Stadia, they're not worried about people being upset. I mean, they're trying to focus on the resources on the systems that are actually going to sell. Steam, Epic Game Store, Xbox One. These are the places where people are actually buying, supporting, and playing the heck out of, Borderlands 3. If you're just talking about Google Stadia, it's pretty obvious that people just aren't even logging on, so they're not exactly prioritizing their programmers. My biggest concern from the very beginning when it comes to these streaming services is predominantly accessibility. The biggest thing is that these companies are holding the games practically hostage. As long as you've purchased them, you only own them on their service. Are you wanting to play this copy of Destiny 2? Well, it exists within the Google Cloud. Are you somebody who just purchased Tomb Raider and you're wanting to play it on your Google Stadia? It only exists as long as Google cares. And I think a lot of these people that are logging in those Destiny hours, or they've just purchased the latest looter shooter, I think they're probably having some concern in the fact that Google may shut this down. It's just one of those things where already the player base is declining, because while I will admit this, I've heard from some Google Stadia people that the system is improving. The graphics are getting better. The system is kind of being stabilized, but it's just not fast enough. It is still by far the most inferior way to play. Whether you're on the go or you're at home, nobody wants to Nobody wants to play on Google Stadia. It is definitely always the worst choice. And I think that Google themselves is trying to wake up to that fact. They realize that you can't exactly get people excited for an inferior product at a higher price. It still costs more for many of these games to be bought in a crappier format, and that's just more and more reasons to hate what is obviously an unfinished product. You should have called this the Google Stadia Beta. A beta is much more excusable. A beta can be a lot cheaper. A beta is a promise of things yet to come. And now Google Stadia is obviously going absolutely nowhere. If this exists in 1 year, I will be shocked. I mean, I will just be completely blown away if we end up seeing the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X. If those are released and Google Stadia servers are still on, I will be truly stunned. But at this point, I don't think this is even going to last until E3. But these have just been my thoughts. What do you think about the latest kerfuffle of Google Stadia, and are you even bothering with it? None of you are. I just like to ask questions at the end of my video. Nobody's playing Google Stadia. If you're one of these 10,000 people, you're probably not on YouTube, you're playing your Google Stadia. But either way, thanks so much for watching, gamers. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, share with your friends, and subscribe if you haven't already. But do me the biggest favor of all and keep dreaming. Check it out. The best part of all of that Shenmue 3 Collector's Edition is there's a Dreamcast Shenmue 3 case. I am definitely going to be putting my copy. I have a PlayStation 4 copy. I'm putting it in here. This is officially part of my background now. Look at that. Boom. Perfect. Fits in there like a glove. Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.